ready to go.
Yes, so now the recording is also on, so let's start. Hey everyone, very, very nice to see so many of you guys here today with us. My name is Sofia and I'm going to be the host for today's webinar. With me today I have Giuseppe and Niels from Agile 42, and they, together with our guests Jelena and Bob, are going to walk you through growing as a Scrum Master and beyond webinar today. A few practicalities before we start. With Zoom, you are allowed to chat with us during the whole session. So please just change the chat settings to panelists and attendees so that everyone here can see what you are saying. That's very nice. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A for this. In the end of the webinar, we're going to have a look at the questions you have, and we can ask questions both to the trainers and coaches and to the guests. So if you have specific questions for specific people, just type the name or coach or guest or something before, so I know who you want to speak to or ask your questions to. The webinar is recorded, and the recording will be shared with you in an email that you will receive from us still this week. And it's also going to be on our blog and social media and so on as usual. So if somebody is missing this session now, you can have a look at the recording later. Also, all kind of links and information, slides and everything will be shared in the email with you. So stay tuned for that. And then quickly also the agenda for today. There's going to be a short introduction now from the panelist colleagues of mine here. Then there's going to be a short poll just so that we get to know our audience a little bit. Then there's the presentation part. We're going to interview and talk with Bob and Jelena, and then in the end the questions. So I wish you all a very fantastic webinar time with us. I will be back a little bit later, and I'm going to hand it over now to Giuseppe and Niels.
Okay, a few words about me. Yeah.
Sorry, yes, sorry.
Okay, it's fine. Okay, I'm Giuseppe. I'm an Italian living in Sweden. I'm a certified Scrum trainer and certified coach, and I lead the office, Agile 42 office in Sweden.
I'm Niels, also a certified Scrum trainer and Agile coach. I'm from the Netherlands. And well, as you can see here, the picture we added in this presentation was taken from an actual course where Bob and Jelena were also participating. There were a few more guys, but we happened to be on the same row on one of the pictures we took. So I would like to hand it over to them, and maybe they can also say a few words about themselves.
Hello, everyone. Welcome from my side. My name is Jelena, coming from Belgrade, Serbia. I am a certified Scrum Professional Scrum Master, working as a Scrum Master in one IT company, and looking forward to talking with you today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Stomp. I'm from the Netherlands. I work at the Technische Unie at the IT department as a Scrum Master. So welcome, everybody, and well, looking forward to this webinar.
Right, thanks for this, guys. So before we start, like Sophie already mentioned, we would like to hear a bit of background from you guys. So we're gonna show a poll, and we would like you to participate in that, and we can share the results so we get a feel of who do we have in the webinar. So the first question is what your current certification level is. And what we can see is that most of you here have a CSM. Some of you have already done an advanced CSM. And we've even a few people that have already taken the CSP-SM, like Bob and Jelena.
So let's wait a few seconds more.
Almost everyone already voted in the poll. All right, so roughly 2/3 of you have done a CSM, and a few have done an advanced, and 3 people actually did a CSP-SM. So we'll be interested to hear from you as well. And some other people have maybe done other certifications that would be maybe similar. We'd also like to hear from you how many years of experience you have as a Scrum Master. So Sophia is going to start another poll, and we'll see what kind of experience you have. Okay, so roughly, so the majority of you actually have more than 2 years experience as a Scrum Master. That's actually quite good to see and good to know. 1/4 of you have between 1 and 2 years of experience. 1/4 approximately has less than 1 year experience. And we have also some people who have no experience yet as a Scrum Master. Could be that you actually have experience with Scrum, but not in the capacity of a Scrum Master. So thanks for joining as well. So good to get a bit of a feel of who do we have here in the room. So we wanted to share a few words about why did we organize this webinar. And Jelena and Bob, they were participants of a recent CSP-SM course. And so we asked them to join because we really enjoyed this type of training. So we enjoy all our trainings, but when we teach the basic CSM or CSPO classes, then we really go into the knowledge and make sure that we cover the Scrum theory. And once we move beyond that and we go into the advanced and the Certified Scrum Professional classes, it's really an opportunity to go more in the application level of Scrum, and we can bring in the context of the participants into the equation. And so what we understood is also that people that participated in this are really enjoying the possibility to hear from other Scrum Masters in other companies how they apply Scrum. Because, you know, I can tell you that we've seen thousands of companies, but we haven't seen any company that is doing exactly the same thing, right? So everybody is trying to bring it from the theory to their own context. And then it's interesting to hear from other participants of how they apply Scrum. So the idea arose that we would like to invite some participants of a recent training to share their journey as a Scrum Master. So when they started working as a Scrum Master, how did they grow and what kind of things that they found experience. So we can hear from Jelena and Bob later. So we're really happy that they joined the panel today.
So, you know, a little bit more about why this webinar, because, you know, by having you listening into Bob's and Jelena's experience and journey, we would like to bring one message forward that, you know, if you want to really being a Scrum Master is a profession, right? And if you really want to be proficient in these things and be effective in this job, and not just be a secretary of the team, this is much more than what you can learn in a 2 days class, because the Scrum Master is probably one of the, you know, most misunderstood roles in the industry, probably because, you know, there is not such a similar thing in a traditional environment rather than Scrum environments. And that's why, you know, it's very important to at least like make an overview about what are the skills that you should have if you want to be effective as a Scrum Master. And first of all, this picture is showing that, you know, the way that a Scrum Master works is kind of, it's like a dance through different stances, right? And depending on the stance you take, you need to use different tools. And then it's about different skills you need to have. So you see in the center, the coaching stance. So it's a lot about facilitating. It's about knowing how to question, how to ask powerful questions about like active listening, is about the observation skills, and is about leading. But then sometimes, you know, your team will not have the knowledge enough to be coached, and then maybe you need to teach and explain and verify or maybe sometimes they don't have enough experience. So you might have to collaborate, to demonstrate, to pair up with them and maybe telling story. Or sometimes they only just need some expert eye on what they are doing, and maybe you might have to provide options or generate insights. And in the background, you might want to show them the values, the Scrum values you want to coach them to live up with, and then being a role model and witness those, embody those values also requires a lot of skills. On top of that, this should be complemented with some subject matter expertise. And these are just some example of things you might need to master, like lean thinking and software management, and what does it take to develop new product, and then about dynamics and conflict resolution and so on and so forth. So it's a real set of skills that spans on 360 degrees, we might say, right? And it's not only, if you can go to the, not only about having a breadth of, it's also about the more you go on in your journey, is about taking each of these skills deeper. So it's about breadth of skills and it's about depth of skills. And in this sense, the program that Bob and Jelena followed, not only with us, but with other Scrum Alliance trainers and coaches, allows you to do that. And this is kind of, this pyramid shows about what is known as Bloom's taxonomy, that explains about, okay, what are the capabilities that different students needs to have at the end of a certain program. And you can see, and on the bottom of the pyramid is about, the capabilities might be just about remember or understand certain concept. The more you go up would be about applying and be able to analyze different patterns, evaluate different frameworks, and then in the end to be able to create. And you see, like, growing to the various level of the Bloom's taxonomy, the trainers might have to apply different kind of techniques. If you stay on the bottom line, it's just about lectures and question and discussion. But if you go to move forward, it's about doing simulation, have assignment on your job that must be reviewed by mentors, having peer reflection, group coaching, individual coaching. These are tools that allow you to move from just knowing the theory to be able to apply in practice. And you can see, like, if you follow through this certification program from Scrum Alliance, the CSM level, it's basically about the bottom level of the pyramid. So our friends, I don't say guests, I don't like guests, but more our friends and colleague Bob and Jelena, as going through a journey to different techniques that allow them not only to understand and remember, but maybe to apply and evaluate and even create their own thing. For instance, create a training module, for instance. That's one of the things they were asked to do. You can move on, Niels. You are muted. You are muted, Niels.
It's probably not the last time that happens. So actually, we just would like to share also this book that we wrote as a self-organized group of Agile coaches at Agile 42. And this is actually targeted at experienced Scrum Masters or beginning Agile coaches. So this covers a lot of practical tips for Scrum Masters and Agile coaches on coaching, facilitation, etc. Just a few words also from Jeff Watts. Maybe some of you know about him. So he thought that this was a great book that really focused on the important parts of being an Agile coach or Scrum Master. So this book, we actually use the contents of this book also as a guiding point in our training courses for the advanced and for the CSP-SM program. So it's free. You can actually download it from a website, or you can also purchase a hard copy on Amazon if you want. Okay, so now it's time for the long-awaited interview with Jelena and Bob. And Giuseppe, would you? Oh no, so I was going to kick it off today. So let's start with Jelena. So let's find out from you, how did you actually get started with Scrum?
Firstly, the very first touch with Scrum was Google, I must be honest. So there was a job opening in my friend's company, and back then I wanted to change the field and to get into something that is more dynamic. And she told me, maybe this role is interesting for you. And then after looking at the job ad, I was like, okay, I have no clue what is this about. So I started Googling, searching, reading, watching YouTube videos. And that was the first real touch and understanding of Scrum on my own. But after I got hired, I get a chance to work with 2 teams back then, and it was really very interesting period for me, because it was the only thing I knew was theoretical knowledge, and I needed to somehow apply it. So one of the biggest or most important things was to set the expectations. So I really talk with my team members, telling them that I'm in the exploring phase and I need to learn together with them. And luckily, very soon after that, I also get the chance to get a mentor, and that was something that helped me a lot throughout further development.
All right. So, and how long ago was that you started with Scrum?
For a bit more than 4 years ago.
Okay, so quite a journey so far until the past couple of years. All right.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing, Jelena.
Yeah, I have a question for Bob now. Is that, you know, it was refreshing to hear experience from Jelena. I assume that most of us have similar experience. I want to focus more, Bob, on when you started working as a Scrum Master. What was, you know, your biggest challenge at the time you started working as a Scrum Master? By the way, how long ago was it that?
It was 2013, I guess.
Okay.
It was my first
So
experience with Scrum.
Back then?
Yeah. The biggest challenge was to keep the organization and the team members and the business stakeholders motivated to keep using Agile Scrum. Because in the beginning, it takes a little time for teams to get up to speed and get adjusted to working in the Agile Scrum way. And yeah, I had to put in some extra effort to have them keep faith in that it will all work out when we'll be using Scrum. And in the end, it did, because we started working from waterfall method to working in sprints and stuff. So, and gradually they saw that the teams were improving, the results were getting better, etc. The team was motivated. So, yeah, that was the biggest challenge, to keep the faith.
Mm-hmm. Anything you can share with us about how did you manage that? I mean, maybe one thing that you did at the time.
Transparency, I guess, because letting everybody see what's going on, and letting everybody speak, also speak their mind, and yeah, see if something comes up, how can we deal with that as a team, and yeah, actually practicing Scrum. So yeah, it was that worked great.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I can ask something to Jelena as well. I mean, you said you started with Scrum 4 years ago, and so far, you know, in these 4 years, you managed to go through different steps and so on. What can you say? What was your biggest surprise in these 4 years, where in this growth path as a Scrum Master? What surprised you most?
I would say 2 things are biggest surprise for me. First one is that previously I worked with mathematics a lot, and there you do something and you see your results right away most of the time. So you type some formula in Excel and there is a result. And yeah, that's something I'm used to and something I like. And while developing myself as a Scrum Master, I learned that sometimes you cannot see your results right away. Sometimes it takes time, and that was a bit shocking for me, because like I'm working on something and I need to keep faith, like Bob mentioned. So you need to have this vision and goal ahead of you, and just keep walking that way, and the results will come. So that's the first surprising thing. But I would also like to highlight the second one, and that is how fulfilling it feels really once you achieve certain maturity level with your team, once they enter the performing phase, and once they also recognize. So most of the time I'm hearing from my team members, like, we have no clue what you're doing, but it's great. Like something happening in the background, something that is going on the way. And I really think it's small steps, small things that at some end, at certain point, are so fulfilling, and you feel really great to see them just perform and be the best version of themselves. So those were two surprises for me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I mean, I think this also requires a lot of perseverance. And actually, I say sometimes you need to be comfortable with seeds of trees that you might never enjoy the shadow somehow. And it's not everyone feels comfortable with this, right? Because we are used to, immediate rewarding or yeah. So this delayed gratification is not something easy for everyone.
Yes, correct.
Maybe Niels, you want to continue with some more question?
You did.
So Bob, so you have done quite a journey so far, right? Almost 8 years, I think, and recently you became a Certified Scrum Professional. So what do you think is the most important learning you had in that journey?
Well, I think that besides keeping the focus on the development of the teams I worked with, it's also very important to keep the focus on developing my own skills as a Scrum Master, because actually what you learn in developing your own skills, you can immediately use to help your team develop even further. So that's the most important thing.
Okay, so which skill do you think is was the most challenging for you to learn?
Listening.
Okay, listening.
Yeah.
To have the patience and.
Yeah, and indeed not to, how do you say that, have someone say half a sentence and then, oh yes, that's just what you mean. And yeah, indeed, listen. First listen. Yeah. Okay,
so good. So a good skill. We have to practice a lot to listen and not to jump to conclusions too much, right? So be objective and not to be criticizing too much. All right, thanks Bob for that. And so Jelena, in what way do you think has this program helped you to be a more effective as a Scrum Master?
I would say broadening my mind. And what I mean with that, I would like to share one experience during the class or in between classes. So we had to do homework. It was 15 minutes training that we had to conduct with some of our colleagues. Maybe some of them are listening to this. So I was supposed to teach using 4C technique in 15 minutes, and I put so much time and effort into preparation, and I felt amazing. I was like, I'm super prepared. I know what I'm doing. Like everything is set, everything is ready. And then the 15-minute training started, and I failed so badly. Like I did not know how to set up really Zoom rooms. I didn't configure my concept board to have enough space for participants to put their post-it. So there were so many things, and I was at the end of it, I was feeling like, oh my God, this is on one hand horrible. But then I realized, oh my God, 15 minutes, and I learned so many things in 15 minutes. Like, what can you do if you have more time to experiment? So my really biggest takeaway was to experiment more, to try more things, to be brave, and because you get the most out of it. Seriously, it sounds a bit crazy, like but I adjusted myself so that I fail more, and then that way learn more. And I see that my team is I'm really having retrospectives in different formats, like even if I'm not prepared, like I'm like, let's do it, and then we will see what's getting out of it. So that was the biggest shift of mine for me.
Yeah, so you needed to push your comfort zone a little bit, and to
yes.
Sometimes when you watch somebody else do it, it seems it looks so easy, but then when you have to do it yourself, it's actually not so
Correct.
not so easy. So sometimes we also explain coaching as compare it to driving a car with a stick shift, right? So when you first learn to drive a car, there's so many things you have to be mindful of. Is it, in what gear am I driving? Or I have to look into my mirrors and what's going on around me in the road. And as you become a more experienced driver, you don't have to actually think anymore in what gear you are, because you know it automatically, and you have learned to master watching all your mirrors and looking around what's going on, and to be mindful of what's directly ahead on the road, but also what's further up ahead in the road. So coaching is also to be more to have more mileage as a coach, more experience, because that will mean that you can do things more naturally. So thanks for sharing about that.
Yeah, maybe I can ask another question to Bob. We said you had a journey that is like something 8 years or something. So now you are a CSP-SM. So what do you have in mind as next step in your learning growth path?
Well, at the moment, I really like being a Scrum Master, so I really like to keep continuing doing that. Like working with people, like sharing knowledge, like to get the best out of the people I work with. But and there's so much to still learn, so I think that's also good enough for the moment. But I have been thinking a lot about maybe doing the role of an agile coach or a consultant to also help companies pick up the agile Scrum way of work, because and scaling Scrum also, because that there are some topics I'm really interested in.
Okay. Maybe I would like to ask one more question to Jelena as well. It is about what would you say to someone? I mean, we have some people that have no experience, some people that have not started any journey, etc. So what would you say to people that, to someone who is unsure maybe whether shall I start as a Scrum Master or not? Is this for me, or shall I do this course or not? What would you say to them?
I would tell them that it's not about the course, to be very honest. It's about people you get in touch with and the experience you exchange. And that is something that it's so valuable. You get so much feedback, you get different opinion, different way of thinking, and that I strongly believe that it's making you a better person and not just like boosting your career in any way. So just exchanging, getting in touch. There are so many great people out there also here today with us. So for example, I think it's really an honor to have an opportunity to talk with you today, to have a chance to maybe answer someone's question, but also that someone like triggers my way of thinking. So do it because of that. Don't do it because you need a piece of paper on the wall. That's definitely not the biggest benefit.
Okay, so what do you say, Niels?
Yeah, no, I think I want to thank Jelena and Bob for their sharing and to their insights of their journey so far. I would like to actually bring in one of the questions of one of the participants that I just noticed, and that's about that in the past you had to share some portfolio of evidence to become a certified Scrum professional, and that's what was then called Scrum education units. Right, and you could earn Scrum education units through various sources, or by attending a conference, or by reading a book, or by reading blog posts, or attending local meetups. So the Scrum Alliance has, I can share my screen again, has changed this program to what they call a Path-to-CSP. And so the reason for that was that they wanted people to really raise the bar on all kinds of levels. That they said, well, when what would we expect of a certified Scrum professional? What type of knowledge would they need to have? And so we already mentioned a couple of skills and capabilities you need as facilitation, coaching, conflict resolution, lean thinking, all kinds of technical experience, product development knowledge. And before, in the old program, you could learn a lot of, you could post a lot of Scrum education units, but we would have no way to validate that you've actually already advanced on facilitation and coaching and lean thinking, etc. So they said, well, these are the learning objectives that we want people to meet. And then various trainers around the world can develop training programs on the ACSM and the advanced CSM level, and also on the certified Scrum Professional ScrumMaster level. So that when you've achieved the CSP-SM, we know that each of these people has mastered these skills and capabilities, and that that is one of the important things. So this training can be offered as a training program. So like Jelena and Bob mentioned, they have done some pre-homework, and that they took part in the class, and there's some post-class homework. But the training can also be, or the certification can also be offered as a mentoring program that, for example, we sometimes offer that in a company by our coaches who are able to work bit by bit on some of these learning objectives by people inside an organization. So that's also a possibility. All right, so what is beyond that, Giuseppe?
Yeah, before we go beyond that, I want again to stress that, while if you look back at this pyramid that I showed you before, of course, if you stay on the lower level, it's something that can be achieved with the 2 days class. But if you go on the upper levels, for instance, on a CSP-SM level, this validation of those learning objectives cannot be done just with a 2 days class. So it's a mix of different tools, which includes like simulation trainings, but also on-the-job assignment that Bob and the Jelena has to do, before the workshop. That was, by the way, a 4 days workshop. So before the workshop, there was some homework, then 2 days of workshop, then some other homework with assignment that was, then corrected and feedback and validated by us. And then 2 more days of workshop after, 10 days or 1 week. I don't remember what we did last time. And then some, what we call graduation homework that was like some final further assignment they have to do to prove that they covered all the learning objectives. So it's a little bit more articulated journey, because, if you really want to get to that level, just like listen to someone making a lecture is just not enough, right? So, and then the Scrum Alliance after that, offer to continue the path to become some kind of what they call guide level certifications. And of course, since, we also hold those guide level certification, we can actually provide support for those who want to continue this journey after that. And the program we have is through like a coaching circle done in small groups of people who share the same path, and then also plus one-to-one mentoring that allows, also your mentor to give you assignment and validate your learning with you, so that you get to the required level of skills and knowledge. Besides, you also need to have experience. It's not anything that can be done. It's not everything can be done just through mentoring and coaching, etc. Because also to become an advanced CSM, you need to have at least 1 year experience as a Scrum Master on top of the workshop or whatever. And then to become a CSP-SM like Bob and Jelena, you need to have at least 2 years experience as a Scrum Master on top of all the things I just described. And then, of course, to become a CTC, for instance, you need to prove that you have done at least 1,000 hours of team coaching in the last 2 years. For a certified enterprise coaches, 2,000 of coaching at enterprise and leadership level in the last 3 years. So it's also on a skill level, but also validated on an experience level. So yeah, I think we just like tried to give you an overview about like the opportunity to grow and learn, it's endless. So it's just that you need to understand what you need and grab them. And this, as I want just to second what Jelena said, this is just not about taking a badge. The badge is just a, you know, like in video games, like a way to motivate you to pursue a path which is harder and harder the more you move higher, and it requires a lot of commitment and a lot of perseverance, and that's it. It's not just, you know, taking a badge. Maybe the badge, you can just go do it for a badge for the CSM, but then after that it's not enough just to go move on just because of a badge. So are we ready for opening question to the audience, or maybe Fia, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to let our participants know that if you want to grow your skills, we have all the trainings that have been mentioned here today also in our portfolio. So you're going to get an email from us where we also put a list to all the upcoming trainings, and we're also going to give you a discount code to the upcoming trainings. So stay tuned for the email, and all the info will be there for you. And I think, guys, we have a lot of questions from the audience. So I think it would be really nice if we start taking them somehow one by one, to be fair. So
I'll stop sharing my screen so that we can see the questions on the screen, right?
The questions will not be shown, so that's why I'm going to read them out so that Jelena, Bob, and you and Giuseppe can then answer them. So the questions are only visible, unfortunately, to the panelists, except the own questions that you have been asking.
Okay.
So I think the first question would go out to maybe the coaches. Do you need to be technically skilled to become a good Scrum Master?
Yeah, I saw that actually there are two similar questions, right? So do you need to be technically skilled to be a Scrum Master? And there's actually, there's no need to be technically skilled as a Scrum Master, right? So when you are a Scrum Master, you're just facilitating and helping the team to collaborate together. So in complex product development, you have lots of different capabilities that you need to bring together as a team. And so how these people are going to share the responsibility of developing the product, it's not that easy. So you're, as a Scrum Master, able to help them to be transparent about their work and to constantly try to find better ways to collaborate together. So as a Scrum Master, you're mostly focusing on the practical part. Now, on the other side, it could also be a little bit helpful to have some technical understanding about a software development process, because otherwise you're not able to challenge the team on it. It can be helpful to understand a little bit, but it can also be a downside, because you may be tempted to tell the team how to do their job, right? So if you talk about pure coaching perspective, there should be no need for you to understand any technical, the technical way of how the team is working. Yeah, that is maybe in the answer to this. It's a little bit in between. Sorry about that.
I think it was really good. Let's take the next question. It goes, Bob, to you. There's a person who wants you to elaborate a little bit more on learning to listen. When do you know that you listened enough and do conclusions and move forward?
Well, that takes a little practice, actually. More and more, every person is different. You need to really, try to understand the people that's in front of you. And it's the more you try to listen, the more you try to get to understand the person. It usually evolves when you get to learn somebody. You also learn to listen the more that you talk together. So, but it's not a one-way trick to, okay, now I know enough and that's it. But sadly, no.
Perfect.
Hope that answers the question.
in our classes also we touch like the listening part, and you also find an interesting chapter about listening in the book, the Hitchhiker Guide to Agile Coaching that Niels shared. And we also have a more extensive program that is actually just focusing on the coaching part. I mean, not on all the other aspects of the Scrum Master role, which is called Advanced Team Coaching Course, where we develop more of these things. But the book, it's free to download. There's a lot of things there, but Bob just shared some juice on what it takes.
Actually, you mentioned the advanced team coaching course, and there was actually a question or a comment from one of the participants about it. So in what way this program that we just described is different? And it's very simple answer, because this program is Scrum focused. And so the advanced team coaching course is agnostic to any agile practices. So, and I would say that the ATCC program is also even a bit more broad. So where I would say that the CSP-SM program would cover about maybe half, a little bit over half of the advanced team coaching course topics. So, but there is some overlap, but yeah. All right, still wanted to get that out of the way.
Thanks, Niels. Another question to the guests, and maybe Niels and Giuseppe can fill in then, but there's a question that what is your biggest frustration or obstacle as a Scrum Master?
To whom was the question?
Or maybe Bob or Jelena.
I would say it was more something for Bob and Jelena, right? Or
yeah, but maybe you want to fill in when they gave their comments.
Okay.
Well, I have to think about that one. It's my biggest frustration.
Maybe I can say something about what was my biggest frustration when I was a Scrum Master.
Okay.
And then actually was exactly my inability to deal with what I said before. Like, you know, I wanted to do a good job and help my team, and at the same time, you know, I sometimes I couldn't really manage the fact that, you know, I should have teach them to do it without myself, and I should have been happy if they reached the goal and they believed they've reached it without my help. I felt very uncomfortable, and I wanted to show that I provided value, but actually was not the point, right? Because, you know, if you are a good Scrum Master, you should try also to, great Scrum Master also try to manage their ego and have a high level of self-awareness as self-manager to deal with this kind of thing. So for me, this was very frustrating until I learned, you know, what really it took. So but it was very tough.
Maybe I can fill in what I believe is hardest for me sometimes when people want to see results like immediately. And I strongly believe that a team needs to get to the stable phase in order to perform. So it's basically, I'm not saying that there are no results. Of course, there are results. You just need to be maybe a bit patient. And also, I think what is sometimes hard for some people is to let go the control. So, you know, in waterfall, there is a lot of calculation and predictability that persons think they have. And they think that if they calculate everything, it will turn out like that. And when it comes to agile mindset, you need to let go that certainty, and you need to trust, and you need to be less control freak or be inside of you control freak, but trust your team members. And I'm seeing often that sometimes it's not easy for people to do that. And yeah, it's on one hand challenging, on the other hand frustrating, when you need to again and again like talk about let's give the team a time, let's let them learn, let them come to the performance stage, and then you will see amazing results. It's so for someone who is coming from a traditional project management, it's sometimes not that easy to accept that and to trust and let go the control.
That triggered me, by the way. I think one of my frustration is maybe a big word, or one of the things that I found difficult is that keeping the product owner involved, because that in my company that is one of the main how do you say, the challenges we have. And so maybe you can call that a frustration, but I actually see it as a challenge. So because it's also nice to find a way to get that working. So yeah. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Here is also a question, I think, more now to Bob and Jelena, but Giuseppe and Niels, feel free to fill in. Can you guys describe a typical working day or a working week of a full-time Scrum Master?
Who shall start? Shall I start? Yeah, I'll start today with actually taking time to look at my email, my agenda and stuff, setting up the goals for the day. Then I have a few stand-ups with the teams. After that, usually some stuff you have to pick up offline or not. And then in the afternoon, see again if I met my goals for the morning, or I still have to maybe change something or anything. And in the afternoon, usually some meetings, maybe refinement sessions or planning sessions, or talk with the business or the product owner or other stakeholders. In the afternoon, we usually do an extra catch-up, we call it, extra stand-up, especially from working from home the last period. It's good to have that extra moment together. And yeah, after that, other stuff that came through during the day. And at the end of the day, usually about 6-ish, 7-ish, I try to see if I met my goals for the day, and if anything is still open, make a plan to pick that up the day after, or maybe later that week. And then go to eat, very important also.
What I can maybe add, Niels, sorry, you're muted. I jumped in.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say maybe additional things that Bob didn't mention, but I'm sure he's depends on the day. But one-on-one sessions with my team members, and preparing for those. So it might sound like you have an empty calendar and nothing to do, but what I'm actually doing very often is either reading something online to try to apply certain method that might work in this particular case, or somehow preparing for the next retrospective. Or it doesn't have to be retro, it can also be some kind of team meeting that requires certain different approach. So it's also a lot about reading, preparing, thinking, and even so most of the time when I prepare something, then I want someone else to hear it before I bring it to the team. So going to a colleague, Scrum Master, or anyone, just to present my idea, my concept, and to get some feedback. Is it clear? What is missing? What is the goal of it? And something like that. So that's on top of the official meetings and events that Scrum is saying that should be done by book.
Thanks. There was actually a question of what you guys do as Scrum Masters behind the scenes, and I think that the teams are not seeing that you're doing for them, and I think this also answered this question really well. So thank you for that. Then there's a little bit more a question also about the current situation that we are all in with remote work and so on. So if the team members are really dislocated and are working from home, how do you deal with this, and how do you make sure that they still stay on the right track?
I guess I could say a few words to that, because actually I use also to be a Scrum Master remotely, and I think this is probably one of the most challenging things, because when you're a Scrum Master, a lot of your responsibility is to also observe how the team is doing. And when I walked around a team room and I see two developers sitting behind one computer collaborating, obviously that is good information, and that you can see, hey, they're collaborating, they're helping each other. And when you're remote, it's difficult to see the team at work. So the only thing you can do is to have a conversation. So what I would suggest is to schedule also one-on-one conversations, to maybe find a way to create as much informal collaboration channels for the team to have. So I know that when I was working with one team that had a lot of remote developers, what they did is we paired up the developers well, basically different pairs all the time. And so they were paired for the day. And that meant that they had actually an open communication channel for the whole day. And they could really collaborate together. And in the beginning, they found it a little bit awkward, but after a while, they really started enjoying that. And they even installed some plugins into their environment that allowed them to share the keyboard and the mouse and control each other's computers, and so that actually was quite cool to see. Yeah, so I would find ways to compensate for the informal communication that you normally have around the coffee machine or maybe the water cooler or things like that, and to make sure you have one-on-one conversations of how people are doing. One thing I did in teams where there were a lot of remote participants would also be for Scrum Masters to visit the site and to work 1 week with one of the people on their site. With Corona, obviously, that's not possible because we have to, but there's definitely a lack of information that we have to compensate for, and we have to try to visualize it somewhere. So I know that there's a tool called Sococo, and actually that visualizes the people in a team or maybe in an entire organization. And when me and Bob are having a meeting, then actually Sococo shows that we are in the same room together, we're having a meeting. And so it feels that people have a little bit more view on what's going on inside their company. So that could be something to consider. Hopefully that was useful.
If I can add, I mean, definitely now the technology gives much more possibility than in the past. I mean, even, you know, some teams are also setting up in the morning a certain number of Zoom breakout rooms. And then, of course, now with the new version, you can freely jump from one room to another, so that, you know, they are always in some room. You have some rooms of pairing. You have a room that is for, you know, coffee, for cooling down. And there is, so also the Scrum Master, if they want to observe the team, can definitely join, you know, any room he or she wants, and then maybe taking the camera off, observing from the background and maybe get information about what's going on. And actually everyone can jump into each other room. If I know that Jelena and Bob are pairing up or something and I need to ask them, I know where they are, and then I can jump into the room and just ask a question. So you need to find a way, and now the technology is good. And by the way, thanks to Zvonimir Juranko to share an article we published yesterday about the webinar we did last week about achieving flow in remote meetings. So there are like some additional tips and tricks also about how you facilitate workshops in a remote environment. And I think also that people that joined our course can also see this in action. So maybe Bob and Jelena, I'm sure they could steal some tricks on remote facilitation on top of the content we did together. So thanks, Zvonimir, for sharing this article on the chat. Hope this gives enough information for them.
I think that was a brilliant answer from all of you. So thanks for that. And then there's an open question, I think, for every one of you. What challenges have you found in coaching POs and in facilitating the relationships between them and the development teams? Or how did you improve these aspects?
Can I start?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
I think it was 2 years ago, I had a product owner who was barely joining our daily stand-ups. And then afterwards, he was coming back to me and sometimes saying like, why is team so slow? What are the problems? And so asking me certain questions. And I was like, yes, we have this meeting where you can address all of those points, so maybe that would be a good opportunity. And then he was like, yeah, but I don't have time for it, I have some other meetings. And then I was like trying to just nudge him into direction that to make time for it, and that is important, that product owner is part of the team and feels that, and the daily stand-up is one of the good examples where team is meeting all together. So yeah, he was like, okay, fine, I will try once a week. And then he started doing that. And then also teams started opening up more to product owner, addressing earlier some problems they had. And then he was like, okay, but now I know how to help you because I can get the information from here and there. And it was really, it sounds like a small thing, this 15 minutes meeting, but if you get it going, if you connect people, it really starts the conversation and solves many problems early enough. So that was the biggest positive experience I had with product.
If I can add a small thing there. So sometimes we see the Scrum Master as the referee between the product owner on this side and the team on that side. And what I think would help sometimes is to see, hey, maybe we can have some shared collaboration, some shared ownership of part of the products. So one of the things I often like to do is, hey, we have this new feature idea. Let's have a brainstorm session, and we can actually, we call it a user story workshop, we can write the stories for these features together with the product owner and the team. And all of a sudden, it's not the product owner with the bad stories, but actually it's our stories. And we have, we kill two birds with one stone, because the team actually feels more connected and the product owner around these stories. They're not just the bad stories from the product owner. And secondly, when these stories are showing up in the sprint planning or in the backlog refinement, we already know much more about them, right? So it's not the first time, and the product owner doesn't have to take a lot of time to explain them to the team. So actually, that is to actually move towards having a shared ownership of the team.
If I can also add something, I think, I also saw a lot of other questions about what can we do to make a team high performing, what can we do in this case, what can we do in that case. I mean, actually, one of the big things that Bob and Jelena learned, and you find also in the book, in the HR Guide to, is what is a structure, a coaching structure that allows you actually to address any problem you have without, us now telling tips and tricks in all things. And this is about, like, everything is about, first of all, starting from an observation, and then we could be like to note down, okay, what did you observe? What are the things you observe around this? I mean, maybe you observe the product owner doing this and this, on the team doing this and this. And then the second step is always about brainstorming several hypotheses about, okay, why these things is happening? Because we should not assume we know why certain things happening, right? And that's part of important skill of the Scrum Master, accepting with the curiosity that you don't know and you should discover it. Maybe the product owner doesn't participate, for instance, to the sprint planning because he doesn't even know that the sprint planning exists, or maybe he's lazy, or maybe, he had like problem at home with his kids and he cannot, he's not focusing on the work now, but on the family. It can be different reasons because, regardless of what you observe, depending on the hypothesis, then you have to take different strategy. And then the third is about defining, okay, what's the goal? What's the behavior goal we want to achieve? Because also if you say, how can we bring a team to high performing? We should first answer the question, what high performing means for us. What is performing? I mean, this kind of, so many times we all want team high performing, but what does it mean? And then depending on these three things, you pick one hypothesis that you feel is the most plausible, and then you decide what to do. What is that is necessary to take one step forward, to bring, your team through where they are, what you observe, to behavior goal. And then last but not least, you might want to set up some metrics that will tell you whether you're going the right direction or not. Everything is a complex problem, and it can all be tackled with a kind of mindful approach. There are no no recipes or no blue pills. I mean, I think all Scrum Masters have a little bit of experience. I've learned this. I see Bob and Jelena are nodding, so they share this view as well. So just want to, you find in the book, it's our coaching structure.
Thank you.
I got one for a challenge maybe.
Mm-hmm.
What I found challenging with coaching POs was to explain to them that the PO is more responsible for the what, and the dev team is responsible for the how. And getting that across, that's pretty important. And also, like Niels said, it's maybe to do a refinement session together, to make the user stories together. And you can also play that game or let them experience the role. How they could fulfill that role as a product owner, to focus on the what do you want, and that the team is focusing on how are they going to build it.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
It really does. It really
Thanks.
does. Guys, again, as usually when we have a lot of fun, time runs out. We have a lot of also unanswered questions, and let's see if we can somehow answer these questions for you guys so that all the valuable questions get answers. I will ask my colleague panelists here today to maybe answer them, and we can send them and share them with everyone who has been in this webinar today here. So we will do this as soon as we can for you, but stay tuned for the email that's going to come with the recording, with the slides, with links, with previous webinars, with upcoming webinars, and so on. If you have questions that were still unanswered and you want to reach out to us, you can always do that. Connect with us on social media, on LinkedIn, send emails. However you want to do this is fine with us. Our contact details will also be in the follow-up email. Bob and Jelena, really thanks for being here today, taking time from your schedule as well. It was really, really nice. And also thanks to Niels and Giuseppe for being here together with us. It was awesome as usual. Recordings and stuff will be out soon, and thanks for everyone attending as well. Stay healthy, stay safe, and reach out if we can help you in some way. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Jelena.
Have a nice evening.
And Fia, of course.
And we
Giuseppe.
promise to answer all the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.